And there you have it. Napoli go top of the Serie A. I said it in my last recap. When it comes to the Serie A, expect the unexpected. You never know what's around the corner. When it comes to the Serie A, you truly never ever know what's around the corner. I think this was a scoreline. I'm not going to say performance. This was a scoreline that I definitely wasn't expecting. Inter streak comes to an end. 7 games. 21 out of 21. It comes to an end in the city of Naples to the hands of Antonio Conte Napoli. The game ends 3-1. What do you guys make of it? What do you guys make of it? Let's just start off with Napoli. I feel like they needed a reaction. Like, you don't get spanked 6-2 in the Champions League and not come out with vengeance and not come out with a point to prove. Yes, you're Scudetto winners. Yes, you are the reigning champions, but behave like a reigning champion. And I feel like the other night in the Champions League, they didn't behave like the champion of Italy. Like, you don't lose 6-2. Now they come up against the team that they competed for the Serie A last season with in Inter. And Inter were high-flying Inter. Inter, the team in form, full of confidence, full of swagger. No matter what Chivu does, it looks good and it gets results. Tonight, they have lost 3-1. I think when it comes to Napoli, like, I'm going to be completely honest. I think, one, Neres in this false 9 position. I'm not petitioning for him to become the permanent solution, but I think it gave them like that central dynamism which they severely miss because Luka doesn't bring it. I don't even think Højlund brings it. Like, his ability to drift out wide, and when he does drift out wide, it creates space for somebody like Mctominay to make runs in behind. Also, the fact that Neres likes the ball to feet, he likes to drop deep, which once again creates space for the Anguissas, for the McTominays, all to spin and then running behind. I think Conte got it spot on with Neres coming into the team. But at the same time, I do look at Inter's backline and I say, somebody like Neres, who's not really gifted physically, he is somebody that you should have really contained, but I don't think they did. Like, I don't think HAJJBALL had a great game at all. Like, HAJJBALL, for me, for a 37, 38-year-old, he's great. But once again, let me repeat that. For a 37, 38-year-old, he's great. But HAJJBALL, in comparison to other centre-halves, he's not great. Like, he's very flat-footed. He isn't the fastest. You could seriously make a case he isn't the strongest. He doesn't have the most of endurance. Like, when you look at one of the goals that we will discuss later, HAJJBALL is literally speed walking on the halfway line. And listen, at the end of the day, he's a 38-year-old. He doesn't have the energy to get back. But if he doesn't have the energy to get back and put out a fire, you need to start looking at the coach. You need to start looking at the board and thinking, why is it season after season after season, there is this persistence with starting a 37, 38-year-old, where, let's just be honest, his best years are behind him. I think Conte got it spot on when it comes to Neres. I think this was a game where he needed a reaction. Like, he needed the big boys to step up. Let's just start off with the main talking point, the elephant in the room. In my own humble opinion, putting my own bias, my own dislike aside, I don't think that was a penalty. Listen, guys, I'm going to be completely real. If you've played the game of football, if you've ever been in a situation like that, like, I remember when they said it's going to VAR, I was like, what's happened? Like, I genuinely was watching it and I was like, wow, what's happened? Like, did I miss something? Did something happen in the far corner that I didn't really catch? When they showed me the replay, I was like, this ain't a penalty. Like this isn't a penalty. Like, this is not a penalty. Fair enough, they've collided, but at the end of the day, you've got 2 players running at full pelt in the same direction, and one player is chasing the other. You know, at first, I thought it was the HAJJBALL slide tackle. But when everybody said no, it wasn't even the HAJJBALL slide tackle. It was Mkhitaryan from behind Di Lorenzo. I'm being honest, guys. Whether it's Inter, Milan, Juve, Fiorentina, like, I looked at that challenge and I was like, that's just not a penalty. That is not a penalty, and I don't understand how it was given. But listen, sometimes in football, you have to create your own luck. Napoli dismantle it. Kevin De Bruyne makes it 1-0. Now, this is where I look at Inter, and I will still turn around and say they created opportunities. Like, you could probably turn around and say they created more clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities, but they didn't take them. Like, they genuinely didn't take them. Bastoni had himself 2 headers, one hit off the bar. Çalhanoğlu had a shot from like 15, 20 yards out. On another day, he scores. Like, football, it's all about taking your opportunities. And I feel like Inter, when they were 1-0 down, they had opportunities. They didn't take them. And when that happens, you always leave yourself prone to the sucker punch. The sucker punch was McTominay. I think that's a ridiculous goal. I'll be real with you guys. Like, do you know what's crazy? When the ball was bouncing, I was genuinely looking at it and I was like, McTominay is not going to do what Bastoni was expecting him to do. You know, if you go and watch a replay of that goal, Bastoni is like jogging to McTominay because he's automatically anticipated that McTominay is not going to shoot first time, that McTominay is going to try and control the ball and then take him on 1v1. And I was looking at Bastoni and I was thinking, brother, this is McTominay. Like, McTominay, his strengths are not picking up the ball, dribbling 1v1 in isolation. No, McTominay's strength is putting his foot through the ball, accuracy, power, placement. Bro, I'll be real. It just sat so nicely on the half volley. I think it's a ridiculous strike. Like, I think when it comes to Napoli today, I think they scored one of the goals in addition to a penalty, which won them the game. I don't think Napoli had an amazing game, but I feel like when you look at the overall contest, when you look at the overall condition of the game, like when you bear in mind you're coming up against Inter, it's in the Maradona Stadium, you need a reaction. I don't think any Napoli fan is going to look at the overall performance. They're just going to look at the fact that, listen, we've won, we've got 3 points on the table, we go top of the league, and this is what we needed to bounce back. I think Bastoni should have definitely anticipated a shot, and he should have definitely tried to close down that shot. The fact that he didn't, and you could even see by his reaction, he turns around and he looks at Sommer. Like, he looks at Sommer like, brother, you should have saved that. But I just think it was lazy defending. Like, when you look at the ball over the top, like I said, HAJJBALL is literally speed walking. HAJJBALL is speed walking. Listen, guys, if you want to play high-line football, you have to bear in mind there's going to be benefits to it, but the negatives are there's going to be teams that exploit this high line. If your high line is getting exploited, you need centre-backs that are willing to run at 100 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour, just to get back and close down the space which they've left in behind. The fact that, for me, Bastoni could have closed down the space, but maybe it's because he never anticipated a shot. HAJJBALL is speed walking. Like, listen, Inter's backline is definitely an area that needs serious addressing, but I feel like Napoli exposed it today. McTominay makes it 2-0. Inter get themselves back into the game. Çalhanoğlu was a great penalty. To be fair, I actually thought he was going to miss because he looked very hesitant. Like, he looked nervous, okay? He makes it 2-1. I actually saw that game and I was like, I think Inter might walk out of it with a draw because now momentum is on their side. Now they're feeling themselves. I think up until that point, besides the goals, if we're looking at performances only, I still had Inter that had performed better. Like, I still had Inter that had performed better. They were getting into dangerous areas. They were creating opportunities. They were just missing them at the last end. Then Anguissa scores a goal out of nothing. Anguissa literally scores a goal out of nothing. And you know what it is? Sometimes in games, tactics can you win. Sometimes tactics can win you a game. Sometimes opposition errors can win you a game. Sometimes individual brilliance is what wins you a game. And I'm looking at it today and I'm looking at McTominay 20-25 yards out on the half volley. That is individual brilliance. I'm looking at Anguissa picking up the ball on the halfway line and literally just bulldozing past 2-3 players, putting it into the back of the net. Individual brilliance. And these are the players that Napoli have. Like, that's why everybody's kind of surprised by the start that they've had to the season, even though they are top of the league. Listen, the league table is probably the most deceiving thing on planet Earth. Look at performances, and I guarantee you, come May, the performances will begin to reflect on the league table. When you see like their players and what they're capable of, for them to lose 6-2 in the Champions League, it does raise alarm bells. It does raise question marks. They get the 3 points. Inter 7-8 game run comes to an end. But to be completely honest with you guys, I think if somebody asked me right now, after that 90-minute performance, who do you look at and still think have problems, and who do you look at and think they'll be all right and they'll probably go back to winning games on Tuesday, Wednesday? I think Inter will go back to winning ways in 2, 3, 4 days' time, because for me, the performances are there. The blueprint is there. If the performances are there, it's definitely something to build on. As much as I feel like if they do want to go, I wouldn't even say go back, because I say, like, if I do want to say they want to reach the heights of competing for a Champions League, winning a Champions League, maybe winning a domestic double, maybe winning a treble, I think the back line is one of those areas where it just needs addressing. And I feel like summer after summer, it gets brushed under the carpet like, you know what? HAJJBALL, he's got one more year in him. Don't you worry about it. De Vrij, he might step up and become a Galactico this season. Don't worry about it. Carlos Augusto, we might be able to play him as a centre-back. I think in the summer, as much as I think Akanji's been great, I think next summer, or maybe even January, if it presents itself, I think Inter really need to look at like some centre-backs and think, we need to think long-term. Like, bring in 2 new centre-backs, probably ideally under the age of like 28, players that can grow in this team, develop, and give their best years to this team. Because you could see, I think offensively they play well. I think in midfield they control games, but I think the fact that they're trying to deploy a high line and they don't have the centre-backs for the high line, it will always cost them against teams with star players, teams with a level of physicality that Napoli have, and Napoli have gone on to win the game. But like I said, expect the unexpected when it comes to the Serie A. Napoli go top of the league. And yeah, make sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on another one.